So I've finished embellishing my bra, and I also added my hook and eyes, and I've even started lining it. So I've gotten pretty far along, and you can see the choices that I made. So here's the really narrow strap, and you can see that it's supposed to look like it's just pearls, and maybe from 20 feet away you won't see that peach-colored satin strap, but close up you probably will. But that's okay. And then here where my neck will be, this will be the back of my neck. I wanted a little wider strap so that it didn't like dig into my neck. So I lined that with there's grosgrain ribbon and some interfacing, and then more of the peach colored satin. And I just sort of sewed what was left of whatever strap directly to it. And then these two ones are connected to each other with a hook and eye here and a hook and eye there. Or I should say a hook and bar. And this is what a hook and a bar look like. So this is the bar and this is the hook. And if you've ever had a pair of pants where there was a button and then there's a little strip that kind of hides the button, usually you'll use a hook and a bar to put those together. And they kind of go like this, where the hook goes into the bar, and that's how they work. And most belly dance costumes are held on by hook and bars. They lay nice and flat. And just like I did with here, where I strung the pearls onto a strand of thread first, and then I sewed around them to get them to attach, that's what I did with the rest of these pearls. But I also knotted the thread between each pearl. And I didn't have to do that, but the benefit of doing that is that if my straps, or my threads ever break, my pearls won't just go scattering all around the stage. I won't lose my pearls because most of the pearls will stay on. Maybe one or two will go scattering, but I'll be able to find it most likely. And also, it'll make the pearls last longer because fake pearls, these are all fake, obviously. Fake pearls are usually glass underneath or plastic underneath, and then they're coated in a pearlescent paint or some kind of coating. And that coating will rub off over time as they rub against each other or rub against other things. So by having a knot between them, you kind of act as a little buffer, and it keeps them from rubbing against each other. And yeah, it also kind of protects the strips of thread a little tiny bit from snapping, because each knot will become tighter instead of the entire strand breaking. Or at least that's a theory. That's basically the theory behind rope. You know, because it's all woven together, it just becomes a tighter woven rope instead of a single thread snapping, but we don't need to go into that. And you can see how I decorated. I put it all around the edges. I didn't put any here, and my husband said that maybe I should because that seam is a little noticeable, but I just, and I also, in one of my design concepts, as you can see here, I had thought about even having an extra strand of pearls that went across the cups, but I decided not to, and I decided not to because the Assuit fabric is just so pretty and so elegant, and the embellishments of it are so nice that I just didn't want to distract from it. So these were the choices I made, and you can see my hook and my bar. And then on the other side, the hook is on the inside and the bar is on the inside. And this one will lay on the outside and lay on top of this side. And because these pearls are so big, I did not have them go beyond where my bar is, because that way my straps will lay nice and flat. The downside of that is if I ever want to alter this to make it bigger, or to make it smaller for that matter, I'll have to deal with the removal or addition of some pearls. And if my embellishments were just sort of diagonal threads with lots of thin seed beads, that may not be as big of an issue. But because these pearls are very high above the surface, I just don't want it to be more thick than it needs to be. So once I had my hook and eyes and all that taken care of and the embellishment all done, I started lining, or else I'm misspeaking actually. I waited until I lined before I added the bars. I added the hook, this hook, first, and then I lined folding the lining underneath it so that it's sewn directly to the outside. And then after I lined it, I added this bar, and this was sewn on directly through the lining, and this bar was sewn through the lining. So I guess just one of the hooks was sewn on first. But I've left one of the cups and the centerpiece unlined just to show you the anatomy of how you line something. So these are basically just panels that are the same size and shape as the fabric that we used to cover the outside. Since I had my prototype of the side panel, I just lined that up on my peach colored satin, which I'm using as my lining, and made those, oh, my cat Pippin says hi, made those side panels, and I just fold them in underneath and straight pin them in, and then spiral stitch them directly to the outer fabric so that, you know, it's just completely sealed on the sides. And I chose to use this really nice satin because it's smooth against my skin, and especially dealing with a suit, it's important to line it because this metal thread that goes through here is sharp, and it actually will be very rough on your skin, and as you're moving you kind of want a nice satiny texture on the inside. Now, to do the cups, it was actually easier to turn the cups inside out in order to lay the fabric on it. So it's sort of almost like you're just lining a cup on the outside again. But the only difference is you don't need to spiral stitch the triangle, and you don't really need to worry about, if you're using a thin material, you don't need to worry about cutting off excess, because no one will ever see it, and it's just kind of in there. And also, if you decide at some point that you want to add padding, this will uninflate itself kind of to make room for any kind of padding that you want to put in there. So first I attach my side panels, and then I line the cups, and then the last part I'm going to do is line this part, and you will never actually see on this particular costume, you're never going to see my structural center strap. I never bothered covering it with any decorative fabric. It's just structural, because the lining and the outer fabric will always be the only thing you see. You'll never even see the lining as long as it's on. So the bra, once I finish lining it, is pretty much done. And that leaves the skirt. And I've had some more thoughts about my design. Pippin has also had some more thoughts about my design. It looks like he's preferring design A at the moment. And so these were my two design things, and I was going back and forth about them. I was very indecisive, and I ended up going with the bra on B. You can see I did not do the additional strand of pearls, so this is the bra design I went with. But I didn't know what to do about the belt, and then I started looking into some historical documentation, and I found this really cool picture of Mata Hari. And Mata Hari was a Dutch woman, and she went to Indonesia and lived with a husband who she didn't like, and then left him, and decided to come back to Europe and take on a personification of an exotic dancer. And so she had this personification. I don't believe that this is an authentic Indonesian costume, but it was what she wore, the kind of thing that she wore, and it was very influential in the whole Orientalist movement. Her and many other dancers, her contemporaries of her time, sort of took on these airs of Orientalism to kind of push the boundaries of art and dance and stuff. But I kind of liked the V shape. And I realized that this is probably a V shape because it wasn't well tailored, and it was just a bunch of fabric that was wrapped around her waist, and that's how it laid. But I just think it looks kind of neat. So I'm going to try something different. Option C. And also my panels, the panels of a suit I have, are much wider than I need them to be. And they're very pretty. And I'm not crazy about myself in rectangles. I feel like I like more fullness in the skirt. So a way to get fullness is to have what is called here a box pleat, meaning that the fabric goes like this, then flat in the front, and then in again, and then flat to the side. So this side and this side meet on the inside, and there's this folded flap of rectangle in front of it, all one piece. That is a box pleat. Very commonly seen on many things. I think a box pleat in the front, I guess, was most iconic on the Hello Dolly gold dress, which is absolutely out of this world. Go Google it and take a look, and you will see a gorgeous box pleat right in the front. And I'll probably do another box pleat in the back, and maybe a V shape with my belt, matching emblems, matching pearl drapes. Now, the concern I had about even thinking about something like this, because, it's very iconic, the problem is, how do you get it on? I can't have it attach in the center front because the skirt is going to be sewn to it. It's going to have to attach on the side. But does that mean I have to climb into the thing and hope that these pearl strands will never be ripped as I put it on? So I think that maybe I'm going to have some lobster clasps. They're on, jewelry, and some round O-rings that are sewn on the inside, and that these pearl strands will attach in the front when I put it on, or at least that's my thought at the moment. And I think I'm going to go forward with this design concept, and I'll get back to you when I give that a shot. You never know. It's always experimental. I won't know what the costume will finally look like until about 5 minutes after I have it on. So stay tuned.